So that's Super Ninja Raph, and I'm going to show you how I made him. This is like a twist tie from a Super 7 figure, and it's clear, the plastic, but the inside's silver, so it looks silver. Then I cut a bunch of toothpicks that I'm going to use to make some of the accessories and weapons. That's a hook I made out of the pieces of the wire that I cut. That was a twist tie, and I just put 3 hooks together to make a grappling hook. And then I'm onto Apoxie Sculpt. It's a 2-part epoxy mix, and then it's like clay, and I wrapped some around the grappling hook that I did, and then I have some that I made last week when I did Donnie, and then I had to add to his pad, so I added one more rung on the top of one and then made it square on another. And for the Sai, I try some toothpicks with one strip of the Apoxie Sculpt to hold it all together. Then I made the Leo like a year ago, but I just did a repaint, so I didn't add anything to blend in the top of the bandana. That's why I showed the 2 heads there, because I'm gonna add like a proper bandana top on Raph. But that's what I did with the spackling, as well as fill in some of the cracks. And now I'm sanding some of the spackling that I added to make it all smooth and nice. It sands really quick and easy. I just use a nail file to do that. Now I'm covering everything with a matte acrylic varnish. It's by Liquitex. I'll have a link down below. I use it all the time. It sticks to plastic, so it works as my primer, and also it seals it when I'm done with the paint. But yeah, just cover him. And I had taken off his belt earlier. Now I mixed a leaf green with it's a bright green that I used on Donnie last week. That was still fresh enough to use, so I mixed a leaf green with that, and then I'm just kind of dry brushing it on a thin coat because I want some of the darker to show through, especially in the darker spots like the grooves and stuff. Now I have a real brown. It's a satin real brown, so it has a bit of a shine on it as opposed to a matte or just a regular real brown. And I have to paint the back of the knee pads because I never do that. That's a pet peeve of mine, I guess. And then I have a black primer mixed with black acrylic, and I'm using that to paint all the black spots. And then I turned on the cameras, but I didn't press record, and I put wraps out of hockey stick tape on him. But then I moved to burnt umber in the cracks of the front of his shell there. Then I've dry brushed a daffodil yellow, but I went too much with the burnt umber, so I want to tone that down by using some raw sienna, and I'm just dry brushing but putting a good amount on covering all the middle, and then I'm going to go around all the edges and the cracks with the daffodil yellow again to lighten that up. And now I have a cinnamon brown. It's a lighter brown, and I just dry brush a little on the pads to make them look beat up like old leather, and then on his shell, which I had dry brushed a little bit of the green on earlier. Then I paint all the silver pieces, and he's got 3 like silver buttons there and all the little rivets on the back of his belt. Then I can finally paint his war paint on his chest there, and I have my reference that I'm looking at that I sketched a couple days before I started, you can see there. And now all the paint is done, so I cover everything with another coat of the same acrylic varnish before I glue it all together and get them ready. So this is thin synthetic leather, and I'm just cutting some thin strips that I need for him. And this is some yellow rope. It just came like holding the tag on something, I don't remember what, but I kept it because it's a good little rope I could use for something like this. Now I have a suede lace that I cut down the middle to make it thinner, just like this. So I glue it to one top of the shoulder and then wrap it around and glue it to the other side, but I'm not finishing the loop because I'm gonna fill in the gap with some 2mm foam that I'm cutting right now, just to raise up the armor pieces so that they're not touching his shell and his arms can still move. And I had to put the head on before I put the shoulder pads, because otherwise I might have not been able to get the head on because the pads were too close. So this is a piece I made for his wrist, and then the thin strips of the synthetic leather wrapped around that, and I used that twist tie that I used at the beginning to make the spikes on that, because metal spikes, when I work with the thin metal, it always stabs me too much. Then I tried the leather on the wraps here, but it didn't work, so I went with hockey stick tape, and that worked much better. And it broke, I just glued it back together. And yeah, that's how he came out. I made Donnie last week, Mikey the week before, and this is a little, I guess, diorama setup I have where I can move all the walls. So like the red wall I made for Raph, and there's a blue and an orange, and on the back side there's different walls, but I did that in my fun spare time. But next week I'm doing something different, and then I'll be doing a new Leo that I make from scratch, because that Leo was the Playmates Super Ninja Leo, and I just painted him to look more ninja. But until then, remember, always keep your head up. Peace.